So today we're going to have a look at different techniques for shading in drawing. So we've done a couple of other classes previously. Last time we looked at reflective objects like spoons and glasses, and the time before we did perspective. So today we're going to have a look at shading. And with me I have a selection of pencils and also some charcoal. So we're going to play around with some ideas and hopefully have some fun. Right, so we're going to start by experimenting with the tools I've got. So I'm going to turn the computer round so you can look at what I've got here on the table. And the idea is that you choose something that you're interested in drawing. I've chosen some fruit, but you can, maybe you've got a special vase or a plant, or you like the view out the window. It could be anything. The main thing, it has to interest you. Okay, so I've got a board here that I'm leaning on, and I'm just going to put this on the table in front of me. We're in my youngest son's bedroom again, purely because it's the quietest room in theory, although it wasn't very quiet this morning when I did the introduction, as he came rushing in to tell me he'd finished doing something or another. Right, so if I put that there, and I'm just going to prop the computer up like that. Hopefully that will stay. And then there we go. So the paper's in front of me. Now I was hoping you'd be able to see something I'm drawing, but I'll leave that for the minute, because what we're going to do is initially we're going to play around with the tools. So in front of me here I have got a selection of pencils from B right through to 6B. And this is because what I would like you to do in order to get into the feeling of shading is it's good to play around with your tools and see what they can do and what different effects they can make, even without you using them for a specific drawing. So I'm starting here with the B, and I'm going to start very light, and then I'm pressing harder onto the paper and seeing how dark I can go. I think that's about as dark as the B pencil will go. I don't know if you can see that yet, just. And then we're going on to 2B, and I'm going to start light again. And it's lighter than obviously the B, and start to get darker. And then darker still until it's as dark as it will go. So here I'm pressing quite hard onto the paper when I'm getting really dark, but you're starting to feel the difference. Oh, that's 8B. I've leaped ahead there. 2B. Right. We seem to be missing the 3B, so we're going on to 4B. You can start to feel the different effects. Now this 4B is much softer, and it really, you can get quite dark with that, and it's really nice and smooth to use. So 4B, then I've got the 6B. Oh no, here's the 5B. Soft. Oh, this is lovely. And then we're getting dark. So what I would like you to do is to have a go with the pencils that you've got and see the different light. So now I'm on 6B, how light you can go through to darkness. And this is basically using the pressure of your fingers, just kind of going as dark as you can. Don't worry if you make a hole in the page. An 8B, that's the darkest one. Let's compare those two together. So you can see, I don't know if you can see that, get it in the middle. You've got a real gradation from the light through to the darker areas on each pencil, and each pencil feels different in the way that in the way that it feels in your fingers, and I find that affects the way that I draw, and it can, you know, it can make the drawing much more pleasurable because you're more in contact with with the materials that you're using. So now we're going to have a quick go with charcoals. You may or may not have charcoals at home to use, but if you've been having any barbecues and the barbecues have had some bits of wood in, or even some bits of charcoal, you might be able to do something with them. I'm not suggesting it's going to be exactly the same as something you might buy from the shop, but we're just experimenting here with shading. So this, let's start with the hard. So this is a charcoal pencil, and it says it's hard. Now, I'm not so keen on this one because I find it's a bit scratchy. And it kind of resists the paper. It's a bit like one of those chalks, you know, that you used to have on the blackboard, and it would make that screechy noise, like there was something wrong with it. Now this one is an HB, so this is like drawing with a pencil. Actually, it's more like an HB pencil. In fact, I'm not even sure why it's called a charcoal pencil. It just seems like a normal pencil to me. Then here we've got a medium charcoal pencil. And that's getting darker. Again, it's still quite resistant to the paper, and you feel like you're having to work quite hard when you're using your pencils. Note how you feel when you use the different pencils or writing implements, because once you've found something that you like to draw with, it's worth keeping it to one side so no one else can get hold of it and lose it. Now this is a soft charcoal pencil, and I find this really nice. This is much smoother. You can get a really nice dark area here, and then we've got a much softer area down here as well. Now, and then I've got these charcoal sticks. And then in my charcoal kit, I have this. So this stick is a stick of rolled paper, and you can use this for blending the charcoals. You can also use a tissue or a paintbrush. You can use them as well for blending the pencils. I wouldn't recommend using your fingers, especially at this time of year, because they're quite greasy from the heat. So that can just make a smudgy mess on your work if you're not careful. So anyway, I'll just show you using this. Let's see. So you can just use that. For blending. It's quite good to play around with your tools at first and just see what they can do. And it's because often you might make some interesting patterns, or you'll create some interesting effects. That you might be able to use for the textures. Now, that charcoal HB pencil blends together quite nicely. I wonder what will happen when I use this on the pencils. Yeah, it does blend a little bit, but doesn't blend as much as the charcoals. But the softer the pencils are, the more possibility there is for blending. It's quite nice, actually. I'm quite enjoying doing that. Now, the other trick that I can teach you is with the rubber. Now, sometimes when you're drawing, you might be looking at, say, a lemon, and you can see at the front of the lemon, nearest the camera, there's a lot of light. It's more like a white colour as opposed to the yellow. So that's where the light from the window is reflecting onto the lemon. So in your drawing, you could use the rubber to pick that area out. I think we talked about that a bit last time. I actually remember to bring a rubber out this time. Right, let me just put that up again. Sorry, hope you're not feeling seasick out there. So you can so it doesn't remove the colour of the pencil or the charcoal completely. It removes pencil much better, say, than the charcoal, but it gives you a lightened area. And it's quite a good way. Let's see if I can show you. So you can see the rubber has lifted out areas of the different pencil marks I've made on the page there. So that's something that you can use in your drawing if you forget to leave an area white, or you want to make an area whiter. Okay, so sorry, I'm sideways on here because I thought it might be easier to show you what I was doing and that you get a better view in terms of the light. So what I wanted us to do now, we've done the pressing down on the pencils to get the different pressures that you get with pencil, and the charcoals, and now I wanted you to have a little go at playing around with the pencil. So this is all quite simple stuff, and maybe stuff that you might have done with your children or grandchildren, but it's quite a nice way to free yourself up from the constraints of thinking, oh, I've got to get this right. So you can just play around with the different pencils seeing what different kinds of mark making that you could do. And then in a minute, I'm going to show you some different techniques, because for example, if you look at something like this avocado, you can see the texture of the avocado skin is quite interesting, isn't it? And one way that you might approach that, for example, rather than just drawing the shape of the avocado, you might approach it by, so here I'm looking at the very dark areas and I'm thinking this is really bobbly. So you've got really dark areas here, and then you've got lighter areas on top, and then you've got lighter areas underneath. So I'm kind of getting the feel of the bobbles, and I'm looking at the texture, and I'm thinking about the texture of the avocado. So there's, you've got the really dark areas, and then you've got some lighter areas going on. It's quite tricky, but it's also quite fun, and it's good to challenge yourself with things that you don't think you could do. So don't always be tempted to go back to the fail-safe things that you know that you're good at or that you find easy. So with these charcoals, you can obviously use them like that. The ends. Think about the ways that you wouldn't normally use something and just play around. Try not to feel constrained by maybe what you were told at school or when you were growing up by some helpful adult crushing your creativity. And then, so that's it. And then have another go at different pressures, and you know, shading doesn't have to be in straight lines. You could do it in circles or zigzags and scribbles. Depends how you feel. Sometimes I feel really cross, and I'll do say a quick drawing of an apple, and it'll be really like this, and I'll get all the irritation out and on the apple, and the finished result may not look anything like what I was drawing in the first place, what I was supposed to be drawing, but there will be an element of it. Drawing in the shadow now here, and what happens is that I actually feel a lot better after I've done this kind of drawing. I'm not feeling particularly angry today, so I'm not giving you the full effect perhaps, but anyway, that just gives you a bit of an idea. So go with how you feel, channel those whatever you feel into your work. Maybe you feel happy or light, or use those feelings. I often find also music has an effect on what I'm doing. So you might have some rock music in the background, or maybe some beautiful Bach. I don't know. Whatever takes your fancy, go with that and play around. Right. Okay. That's my quick apple scribble. Right. So right. So what I wanted to tell you about next is you probably know about Henry Moore, who was a famous artist, and he did lots of drawings in the underground when the underground was turned into air raid shelters, and you can see these wonderful drawings, and the way that he uses line for shading is quite interesting. So let me do a quick demonstration, and when you have a chance, please have a look on the internet at Henry Moore. So if I was drawing this line here, Henry Moore uses line to describe the form of the item. So I'm just drawing the basic outline here. I've made it too long. I made it longer than it should be. But what he does is he draws lines in that describes the form of the piece, and then he cross hatches the lines and builds them up. And that's the flat here, the shadow, and then down here. So I'm making this darker by pressing harder. But Henry Moore's lines will go all the way round the object. So even where it's light, there will be often be some lines, or he'll leave areas out. But you'll get this real kind of three-dimensional feeling. Now I made this too long, so I'm going to cut it down here. And then that's a bit darker there. So that gives you, it's not a very good drawing, I'm afraid, but it gives you a bit of an idea about how you can use line to help describe the form, and then by increasing the amount of lines on the page, you're then making the areas darker and showing where the darker areas are on the picture, on the item that you're drawing, compared to the lighter areas. Right, I'm just seeing if there are any questions. No, not so far. Okay, so moving on quickly from Henry Moore, then you could have someone like Rembrandt, who uses, and a lot of other artists as well, actually, who used cross-hatching. And I'm going to do this with the 2B pencil. So let's try the lemon. So with the cross-hatching, you're basically using lines, and rather than curving the lines to fit with the shape of the form, you're building the lines up on top of each other. So I'm looking at this bit of shadow here on this lemon, and then I'm going to build up. Now you can see I'm finding this quite difficult, because I am used to drawing more using the style that Henry Moore uses, which is using the lines to describe the form. So here you're completely reliant on building up the cross-hatching to get the darkness in, to accentuate the form of the piece. And this is all stuff that you can experiment with. I'm looking at this dark area here. So I'm seeing this lemon from a slightly different angle to you. So, but it gives you, I'm just picking out the market areas. And it's good to try different ways of drawing, because you'll find that depending what you're drawing, different styles will come to you. But if you learn the techniques, then you can draw on them in your own work. Okay. So gradually now, the table is actually darker than the lemon underneath here. So here I'm focusing mainly on bringing out the darkest areas. So this is cross-hatching because I'm crossing the lines across each other. Now you can use something like that for blending if you want. I'm generally not a fan of this, but actually today I'm quite enjoying it. I can just make that blend together quite nicely. So you're building up the layers with the cross hatching, making some parts darker than others. So for the final bit, although we are running out of time, what I would like to say to you actually is that it's a second, sorry, joggling around. It's quite good to spend a bit of time creating a composition before you do your drawing. So, for example, I have got in front of me, let's put it so you can see it right. So I've got an avocado, a lemon, and an apple. Now you can, I'm trying to put this into view because it's there. That looks like it, right? So so before you do your drawing, spend a bit of time creating your composition. Now you may not want to draw more than one object at a time. It depends what inspires you, what you like the look of. But just for the last exercise, and then it's off to you guys to have a go at doing a picture on your own. And I really hope you'll post them on the Virtual Village Facebook page, because it'd be great to see some of the things that you've done. But another good exercise for those of you who've not done my workshops before is to start by maybe focusing on the darkest areas. So here I'm looking at the shadow underneath the avocado, and it's quite dark there. And then we've got the lemon is cutting in, which you can't see unfortunately, but it's basically round here because of the angle of the camera. Now I'll have to try and work that out for next time to make it a bit better. and then just shadow around here. And the avocado is very textural, so I'm going to use my pencil in a different way to how I would use it for some other fruit. It's quite, so you could kind of build it up here with the texture. Coming around there. All these lovely bumps on the avocado, which makes me want to bite it. There's a little stalk under the stalk. So you don't always have to be doing your shading in straight lines, shall we say. And then you've got, again, the lemon has quite an interesting texture on it as well. And you've got lots of, depending on the lemon, you've got some waxy areas. Nice bubbly bit. And then the apple is quite shiny, so that's a completely different texture again. So with the apple you might use a harder pencil, something like a B, and then I might build it up using the cross-hatching technique, which I associate with someone like Rembrandt or Leonardo. So, right. It's a bit messy on the outer edges of the apple, so I think I would go over that and either rub bits out or draw over it, so as to give it more of a shiny feel. And then with the lemon, you've got all these little kind of dotty bits, which you can make the darker areas using those marks. You have to basically experiment and see what you feel comfortable with and what the different mark making techniques do for you. So I hope that's been of interest. Oh, someone's put a message. Just to say that they're watching. That's good. Hi, Mandy. Yeah, so I hope that was of use and helpful. So the main thing is to experiment and not worry too much about the finished product. Obviously you want to make something that you like the look of, but you are going to make mistakes on the way, so try not to be perturbed by that and keep going. You can always go back and have another look at the videos, and there are a couple of other ones that I've done as well. So good luck and have fun. Okay. See you soon.